Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Mindful Session. My name is Unisa Kamara, and as always, it's a pleasure to have you joining us, and it's a pleasure to be on this platform. As usual, I have my co-host, my good friend.
Hi everybody, my name is Dave Sleet, and as Unisa says, I'll be your co-host for today. How's everybody doing? Drop some feedback in. Let's see how things are going for people over the last week. There's been some major changes around with regards to lockdowns and openings and closings and businesses. Let's see what you guys are dealing with out there.
Right. As usual, please, we would not know if you're watching. Please drop us a hand wave, a hello, or whatever it is. Drop in your email, say hello, feel comfortable to get involved in the conversations. We always welcome your conversations. We always love interacting with you guys. Again, as usual, this show is for you. So please get involved, send us an email or drop an email
Send
in
us
the
a carrier
conversation.
pigeon. However, just let us know that you
Reach out.
Yeah, reach out.
Today's show, it's about relationships, young and old. Now, when I say relationships, ladies and gentlemen, it varies. Now, our conversation today is going to be, we're going to touch upon different aspects on it. So, you want to take it, David, or should I continue?
No, go on. You do.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, now, as we are all aware, none of us getting younger. We all getting old. Now,
It's one-way traffic.
it is. There's no going back. Young, then, from the cradle to the grave, unfortunately.
It's a one-way journey.
We are on a journey. This is a journey of life, unfortunately. But each of us know, as we get older, we need to interact with the younger ones. You understand? Because as we get older, a lot of older people tend to isolate themselves. So they need that interactions with the younger, generation to interact. A lot of elderlies are afraid to interact with the younger generation due to everything that is going on. And also, the advantage is that when we use this younger generation to interact with the older generation, it tends to teach them so much. They tend to learn so much how to care for someone, how to be able to have a communication with someone, and also the older generation tend to reflect on how to care for that young child because say someone is 80 years old, you understand, and having that little child come into their life again, you understand, it'll bring back memories, it'll bring joy, so it's always good to interact.
One of the things that we've seen recently across different parts of the world is universities have opened up space to older communities. So you have an elderly population mixing with a university population. And you have nursing homes and nurseries in the same arenas. And the connections that are being made and the relationships that are being formed are helping both sides of that equation.
Precisely.
And the relationships that form, and like you say, relationships come in all shapes and sizes and all types. But a relationship is a connection with another person.
That is so.
And that's what we really want to get across, is how important that connection is. Whether it's somebody that's young, whether it's somebody that's old, is irrelevant. It's the connection that is the important thing.
We are social beings. We need that connection. Now, as David said, in care homes, they have the elderlies with these kids coming together, to build that connection. Now, if you go to a lot of care homes, you see the young kids from nurseries coming to do some artwork. They pair them off. You notice that? And that elderly is feeling as that's my grandchild or that's my daughter, they tend to show them so much love and they tend to be so gentle. If you notice, in the care home, a lot of them are so, excuse my terminology, grouchy. But when they see a young child, it's like, oh, and they smile.
Not everyone in a nursing home is grouchy. Ladies and gentlemen, our lawyers have just told us we cannot generalise. But you're right.
That's why I say some.
So, one of the things that struck me when we were kind of looking at topics and things around what's happening now is...
Hold on, let me just say this.
Okay.
I don't filter.
We have learnt this. Our lawyers have learnt this.
Thank you. So I don't care what lawyers, advisors say to me. I don't filter, ladies and gentlemen. So just put it out there.
Hence why there is a co-host on the show.
Go ahead.
The thing with the mindfulness around relationships is it's very easy for us to fall into a sequence of interaction, habits, patterns, etc. And I know I'm guilty of it. That a relationship of whatever kind runs in a particular way. And when things go differently to that, it throws us all out of kilter. We're like, this isn't natural, this isn't the way it should be. And we really struggle to get back into balance with it. And when that relationship is between people of different generations, that could be a parent and their child, it could be a grandparent and their grandchild, it can be different racial or social groups, it becomes even more amplified that things aren't the way they should be. Because we've got caught in this habit of this is the way a relationship should be, this is the way the interaction should go.
But don't you know, sorry to cut you, a lot of kids tend to learn from home how a relationship should be. Some, not all. And they see mommy and daddy all lovey-dovey, and they grow up and that's what they expect in their relationship. And they see, or maybe daddy and mommy arguing all the time, they think it's a norm. It's not norm.
Yeah, and those formative understandings of what is normal, they do shape what a child grows up to see and then go and seek as their normal. And one of the things that we've understood for probably almost about 100 years is when we see our perception of normal as a child, that's what we're going to go and look for. But children don't block out because they're in a different room. They don't ignore the tone of voice because they're a child. They don't not absorb because you don't want them to absorb.
You see, the thing is, to be quite honest with you, and each and every one of you are aware of this. As we grow up, we tend to acknowledge the fact that children are more knowledgeable, more sensible than we give them credit for. So because you say, oh, it's just a child, they're watching television, don't mean they're not aware of their surrounding.
And this is the thing, is whatever a child is able to hear, they are able to absorb.
That is it.
Whether they are physically paying attention to you or not. A child's brain, from the time it is 0 to the time it is 7, is at its most open.
And a good psychologist said, give me a child, and I'll show it till the age of 7, and I'll show you what that child will be. Because that's when the mind is fresh.
Yep. And it's absorbing everything. And a parent or a set of parents, and that might not be biological parents, I'm not, let's widen that scope, but the adult role models for that child, they might be having harsh words, they might be having tense words, but they're doing it quietly and they're doing it in a different room and all the other doors are closed. That child will still hear it.
Absolutely.
Because their brain is tuned to listen for everything up until they're 7. And because their brains are wired to absorb everything, it means everything. So what parents are engaging around those children, they are teaching those children. And as relationships grow, that child beds that information in, and they go, right, okay, so this is might be a reactionary environment. Well, they then become reactionary. Like you say, show me the child at 7, and if nothing else changes, I'll show you the adult. But it doesn't mean it can't change.
You know, we as human beings, we like to assume. But one thing that we need to understand is that when you structure a child, it's never easy structuring a child. Now, we have to understand, we have to give the child, we did a show on this, give the child the opportunity to explore. You understand?
Yep.
That is the way they can experience life, and that is how they can learn. If you don't give a child that chance to explore, they can never fully develop to the best of their ability.
Yep.
Now, going back to relationships, hypothetically, I'm at home, I have my child at home. I'm sitting there all the time, just in front of the TV, not doing anything. And as so-called say, I have a relationship with my child. So when that child comes in my circumference, what are we doing? Watching TV. If my child comes in and sees me reading, what do you think that child's going to do? Pick up a book. You can still bond with that child. Lawyers, doctors, their children want to be what? Lawyers or doctors. Because why? Because that's what the parent...
That's the environment that they're in, and that's what becomes their normal. And we see that for generations before. The other thing to bear in mind is that the wider that scope of knowledge is that we are giving a child, so the more perceptions of normal that we give a child, the wider their knowledge base becomes.
Absolutely.
So it's not just one relationship that will form that, it's every relationship that they have that form that. And if all of those relationships are positive, all of those interactions are positive, then a young person will find everything to be positive. They will look for those things, and the things that don't give them that, they will stay clear of.
I think you and I had a conversation in reference to this. My daughter, the mom, all she wanted to do was feed her, how you call it? Organic food. And my mom came from America and said, listen, what are you doing? You can, in case this child go out there and eat, normal food, and they're going to get sick, open up the child's life. Don't just, it's like saying you're the most beautiful girl in the world, or you're the most handsomest. And then they grow up, somebody says something to that will crush them. We have to be realistic with these kids.
Yeah, and it's about the balance and the engagement of what is their talent, what is their essence, and allowing them to grow that sense of confidence from within themselves, rather than looking for it to come from everybody else. And again, that's part of that relationship, that balance, that connection between young and old. And it doesn't matter what that age gap is, it's young and old. And, relationships are not easy by any stretch of the imagination.
Nothing is easy. Okay? Nothing is easy.
And, I put my hand on my heart on this one. Okay?
Do you have a heart?
It's in a jar in the office.
Oh, I kind of figure it's in the green room, isn't it?
Yeah, it's part of the contract, ladies and gentlemen. It's not really, it's still in there. But the whole essence of relationships is finding that connection that meets as many of those balance points for your sense of normal, or the normal that you want to aspire to. It doesn't matter what your experience has been, you can reach a different perception for your relationships. You can reach a different balance. It doesn't have to be what your parents' relationship was.
Now, let me just say this. We're talking about relationships. Ladies, when you get in a relationship, don't expect your partner to be the way your father was. Gentlemen, when you get in a relationship, don't expect your wife to be the way your mother is, because it's not going to happen. And if you put too much pressure on your partner to be like the way your parent was or is, that relationship is not going to grow. That's heading for destruction.
And the thing is, that's again, is putting pressures on somebody else to perform in a way that meets your expectations.
Yeah.
And that is going to always cause struggle. And whatever barriers there are to relationships, and there are hundreds of barriers.
Absolutely.
It's like the longest hurdle race in the world. You know, and people keep putting other hurdles in your way as you go. But the more you can be open to the fact that there are those hurdles, the easier it is to overcome them as a relationship. Whatever that relationship is, whatever that dynamic might be.
I had a conversation with Maria, and one thing I told her, I'm quite blunt with her. I told her, my objective is to protect you. You understand? My objective is to provide for you. I don't want to see harm coming your way. But I want you to understand, your feelings will get hurt. You understand? That is unavoidable. So I'm not preparing you for mayhem. I just want you to know how the world is. As parents, our objective with our children, our nieces, nephews, whatever have you, is to be honest with them. We cannot put them in a bubble and say everything is going to be well and sugarcoat it. The world is not as beautiful as we want it to be.
Yeah. And this is the thing that I think we've seen over the last 40 years globally. Younger parents, generally, across the world, having children, and the skill sets and experience that before that was involved in parenting has come down because we've got younger people becoming parents.
Yeah.
And that life skill has kind of been reduced, but it's been changed. And we often hear about attacks on, or verbal attacks on, younger parents. And for me, I think it's abhorrent when that happens, because we're returning to what was before. Because younger parents used to be the norm. And we pushed it up because people wanted to have careers. And now it's coming back down. It's a cycle. And if we attack people because of the choices that they make, it puts pressure on their relationship with their offspring. And the pressure just builds.
That's true.
And builds and builds and builds and builds. And you end up having young people feeling the pressure because the pressure that's been exerted on their parent. And so on and so forth. And we've got to get out of that, because the children are not there to absorb the pressure
from
the world around them. They're there to learn the skills in order to engage with the world.
You see, I used to always say, I wish there was a guide on how to be a parent.
8,000 are published every year.
Yeah, but unfortunately...
And none of them actually make any sense.
That's all, but unfortunately, that's from their point of view, their perspective. You understand? When we were all created, if we were told, when you were born, and you're going to grow up and reproduce, this is how you need to,
How these are the things that are going to happen. These These are the skill sets you can
Precisely.
need.
And then you have a child, these are the guidelines, this is so, you understand? It'll be so much easier.
Yeah.
But every parent have their own way of raising their child.
Yeah.
And each parent, I'm not criticizing no one, but everyone have their own views, their own ideas on how to be a parent. No one is perfect, but there are some that are doing the best of their ability. All I can advise you, parents, is do the best you can. Teach your child to be the best they can. Let them know that the world is they can accomplish anything.
And this is the thing.
And build a relationship with them so they can trust you and have that communication line.
It comes back to that, doesn't it? It's build a relationship.
Yeah.
And whatever it is that you are going through, whatever the challenges are, if you are struggling, don't struggle when you've got support. Build the support network around you so that you've got that support. So when your relationship with your child is stretched, stressed, tenuous, whatever is going on, you've got a support network around you. And accept that not everyone is perfect. Don't beat yourself up that you've got supposed to have all the answers because you're the parent.
Well, you know what? I have all the answers, David. I love working with my youth. So I have all that. Call me. Joking. But the thing is that I don't think there's a problem child.
No.
I think they go through the phase, and you and I spoke about that as well. They will go through that phase where they will say, you know what, I have to experience this on my own.
Yeah.
You don't understand me. My friends understand me. I went through that. You went. We all go through that.
And it's part of that finding your feet
That's
process
it.
as a individual, and not being the carbon copy of what your parents have put in play. We all go through it. It's painful. It's why it's called adolescence. And if you're dyslexic, it's one of the toughest words to get your head around. Because it's one of the toughest things for us to get our heads around, all of us. Adolescence is not easy.
It's not. Because they're going through so many insecurities, they're trying to find themselves. You know, it's just so much complication. Me, personally, when I'm working with a youth, I try to understand them. I try to listen to them. That's what they want. They just want somebody to, don't talk their ears off. I like to talk.
Tell them, man.
I love to talk.
But
So
this is
people,
it, isn't
so me, but along my talking, I give them the ability, the opportunity to convey what it is that they're trying to say.
And this is the thing, is being able to listen is more important than being able to talk.
That's it.
And if we can work as adults at the listening, even before we've started to teach a child to talk, if we've learned to listen to what that child is engaging, their tone when they cry, their volume and their emotional output, if we start to listen to that before we start to teach them to speak, we're already in front of the curve in the battle of building that relationship, because we're able to understand what it is that they're trying to communicate. And on this point, on kind of the non-verbal communication that we get from children, I'm just going to give a massive shout out to Dr. Vivian Sable, who produced the Blossom Method. And it's an amazing communication tool for non-verbal communication. It works on so many levels, and please go check it out, the Blossom Method.
Is it a book?
It's a book, it's a practical tool set. Go check it out, the Blossom Method from Dr. Vivian Sable. And as adults, we have to start to understand that the skill sets that we've got, they might not be everything that we need. We need to be able to have additional people around us. We need to build that support network for those relationships, because we're worthy of them.
You know, today we are going through the lockdown, and being it's Saturday, it's in the afternoon. You know, we're not working. what is stopping us from being with our children? Me. Son, I have my sons in America. Elton, Unisa, his name is Unisa, Elton, Christopher. I embarrassed them. I see them, I'll kiss them
But
on the
that's your
lip.
job now.
Yeah.
They're of an age where you've done had all of the embarrassment from their growing. Now it's your time
That's
to
it.
return the favour. Yeah,
And
I mean that's
and I build our love as to
quid
say
pro quo.
all my kids, I always say I love you. I want them to know that I love them, and I always want them to know I'm here. There are days you're going to be upset with me. It's normal. There are days you're going to need a bit of space from me, and there are days I know you need that space, and days you know I need that space. By the end of the day, you know I'm here. And that is what we as parents need to learn. When every minute you bombard that child, you understand, they feel clustered. Give them space.
Yeah.
And the way you treat David, you and I, when they're young.
Thanks for that.
You're welcome. Now,
I am.
the way we treat our parents, our children are observing that. You understand? If I take my parent and say my mom comes to visit, I don't have time for my mom. You understand? And when I get old, I want my child to have time for me. What do you think that child would say? You didn't have
So
time.
time for yours. Wow, I've got time for you.
Exactly.
And this is the thing: is we're always learning. You know, Leonardo da Vinci on his deathbed is reported to have said, "I'm still learning." Right?
Indeed, we are.
If we're only learning if we're prepared to learn, and if we're prepared to learn from the experiences that we have, then yes, the way we treat our spouses teaches our children how they should be treated by their spouses. The way we treat our parents teaches them how they should treat their parent, i.e.
I have a 3 rule.
Go for it. I am in awe of 3 rules.
When I'm with my partner, one thing, rule number 1, I will never put my hands on you, hit you in no way. You understand? Rule number 2, I will never force you to do what you don't want to do. And rule number 3, I will never call you out your name. Once you have those rules in place and you have your child, and your child will see the respect that you have with their mom or their dad, whatever it is, they will come into the atmosphere. But if they see you every minute you swearing at your partner, and they're hearing a lot of swearing in the house, what do you think they're going to do? They adapt to it.
Yeah, they're just going to survive in that environment. And survival is imitation in
Precisely.
those environments. And we know that that has consequences long term for the relationship that those young people have. One of the things that I just wanted to give a shout out to while we're talking about young people, and I know I've mentioned her before, the young lady that is producing the artwork for my children's storybook. KK has been having a tough week and is really unwell at the moment, and I want to give a massive shout out and say get well soon. Love you lots, take care of you, and hopefully everyone around you is doing the same. I know most of them are. But you take care, and hopefully I will speak to you later on today. All right.
Well, while David is giving credits, I just want to say, ladies and gentlemen, please feel free to share this video, like this video, because you never know who's in need to hear what we're trying to convey, what we're trying to say, our point that we're trying to get across. And as David and I always say, no one is perfect. David and I, we always banter. That don't mean I'm right. That don't mean he's wrong. You understand? But, we are always trying to convey a point to you, and you have to be the judge of what information you think you can take. We want want you to have a blissful journey during this life. So please, the comments, we are going to go through them. We have someone working on the website where we can interact with you even after the show. So please feel free to keep getting involved. We deeply appreciate your comments, your feedback. So instead of sending emails, now you can get to David and just tell them to go sit somewhere.
That's nice. That's nice.
I
Thanks.
know. I'm very nice.
So, when you think about relationships, young and old, what would you say is your favourite relationship that you have had with somebody older than you and somebody younger than you?
Wow.
There's a reason why I'm asking this.
David, I enjoy all my relationships, to be quite honest with you, because my parents, the way we were raised, my siblings, imagine having boys in the house, the mayhem. You understand? So we used to go to war, but never would we go to bed angry at each other. By the end of the night, you see someone come and kiss the other one. I love you, bro. Good night. So my relation, and that's how I deal with my kids.
You see how the flow?
Yeah.
So that sense of relationship with older people as you were growing has totally shaped how your relationships with younger people are. And that's the key. And when I asked the question, the fact that there isn't one that stands out, because it's all of that. All of it flows. And having met your ma, and I think she's phenomenal. I mean, she put up with you, but the whole environment
Thank you for that.
created allowed for that to exist. And that's the key. It's creating the whole environment, not just a fraction of what your environment was that your family worked towards. And as things moved for you, that became a bedrock. It was solid, and it was something that you keep going back to.
Absolutely.
And that's the key. So congratulations, Ma.
My father had a stroke for 17 years, and he became bedbound. Instead of him to be in a care home, we took turns taking care of him in his own home. I would come spend the day while, because my brothers are lawyers and the story, while they go to work, and we would take turns. And my mom would go from house to house so she can get a break and rotate. And now she's doing that. She's in Texas right now with my sister. So she's still making her rounds, and she don't even live in her house no more. So the thing is that the relationship we structure, relationship are important. And this is how, like you said, our children are quite observant. This is how we become from how we were nurtured. If you teach your child to believe in God, they'll believe in God. If you teach your child there's no God, you understand?
That's just like a football team, isn't it?
They see you watching Arsenal,
then
they become Arsenal fans.
And if you put them in a baby grow for a particular team, and that's the only thing that they'll know, then that's the only thing they'll know. And it's the same with a lot of things about the exposure that we give to our younger people. Doesn't matter what kind of relationship that is. Teachers have relationships with students. Students have relationships with younger students. It's the ability to maintain open, balanced communication that allow those relationships to blossom to the best.
Can I share a story with you?
Have we got time?
I always share
Go
this.
for it.
I always share this story. When I was working at Neuro Rehab, center, this gentleman was involved in something where drugs, or I can't go into that, but his daughter, disowned him. And now he came into our facility, and the position I had working with the director, I had to maintain, the units. So I came on the floor one day, and, the manager called me and was like, Mr. Kamara, Mr. Doe, is refusing to take his medication. So I said, okay, let's just observe his behavior and see how he goes. Don't force him. As long as he's eating, he's not, acting erratic, let him be. Me being who I am, I kept an eye on him. Whenever I would make my rounds, I'm quite observant of him. But he's always sitting at the window. I think I told you this story, and I've spoken about this story numerous of times. Always watching out that window at a certain time. He would sit on the, and he was not communicating with no one. And I've tried to build the communication line with him. He refused. So me being who I am, I watch him. So that day, I went downstairs. I stood where I can see upstairs, and I noticed a young lady going into the shop. That was his granddaughter. And I invited her one day to come. And I told her, do you know Mr. XYZ? Which indeed, I know we're not supposed to do that, but when she came and started building that relationship with them, it was a whole different person. And that connection.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. Took the words out of my mouth. That connection. I
took words out. Wow, David, you Mr. Talkative?
Hey ho. That connection becomes the building block for everything else to come after it. And that longing for that connection, that longing at the window, watching his granddaughter, that tells how important that connection is.
Precisely.
It's a bit like, how many times do you pick up your phone when you're waiting for somebody to ring you?
Call you.
You're dying for that connection to come through. There's a longing. And that does something to us when that relationship, that connection, that phone call, that meeting takes place. It releases so much endorphins through the brain because that's what we're needing at that moment in time.
Yeah. And also, ladies and gentlemen, we always say in my culture, and I'm dealing with, I'm in this organization called ASAP or something of a sort. It's a WhatsApp group where you have different leaders from different communities. We tend to interact, change ideas, and majority of them are Indians. And one thing I've learned is that cultures are quite similar. You understand? They believe, just as I believe, your blessings come from your parents. And the way you treat your parents, there's an upper eye above that watches. Now, I know it's not everyone that believes in this, but, there's a spiritual being that everyone believes in. People, but the main of it is that we have to respect each other. We need to build relationship, especially during this time of the crisis. Just picking up the phone sometimes and reaching out. We had a conversation. We did a show reference to that. Reaching out to someone just to say, I just want to check up on you. How are you? That makes a difference. You never know what that person is going through at that point in time in their life.
Yeah. And that's, as I think now 2020 is coming to a close. This has been a big year of opportunity for so many people. We've been able to see the things that work and don't work. We've had time to fix things that don't work. We've had time to improve the way things are done. We've had time to work on relationships. And some people have had relationships thrown on them because they've been forced into the same arena. And it's meant struggles. It's highlighted things that weren't working. And some relationships have been pulled apart because people are in lockdown in different locations and people can't travel, and you get a sense that those emotions that are involved are so much more amplified at the moment that as we go into 2021, there is a real opportunity to get hold of those emotions, get hold of the ways of working and the ways of holding those relationships and do things completely differently. And we can do so much more because the self-awareness has increased because of what we've been through.
Exactly.
You know, not all relationships are good. Not all relationships are bad. Not all connections are good. Not all connections are bad. And that doesn't mean break them away and cut them out or whatever. It's about
Never burn a bridge.
It's about communication. Build the bridge. Find what works in the reality of the situation that we're all in.
I am so in agreement with you, David. You ever heard this saying, perfection is a moving target?
Mm-hmm.
You can never hit perfection. You can get good at something, and the more you practice, you become better at it and good at it, but you can never perfect.
Perfection is going to keep
moving. So if you expect perfection, ladies and gentlemen, you are going to hinder yourself along that journey.
Yeah. And don't forget, what you've understood as a one scenario situation, that things go this way, this is what happens. So you then go and create that, so you prove yourself right. You will always do yourself a disservice. And I know I am guilty of that.
Yeah, I know you are. Thank you.
You know,
because David always think he's right. You know, we always,
we're human beings, and we always like to prove ourselves right. If we think something's going to break, then it breaks. And we go, yeah, see, I told you it was going to break.
You know,
but if we've then put the things in place that allow it to break, then it's going to break.
Of course. You know, the thing is, I believe, again, this is just me, I believe that sometimes we set up our own downfall. There's a saying, fight to fight another day. It's not, even a broken clock is right two times a day. You understand? So when you get in a relationship, when you're in a relationship, even with your child, ladies and gentlemen, don't always say, I told you so, I am right, I am right. Even if you're right.
It don't make no difference.
It don't make no, then you lose. Sometimes you think you're winning when you're actually losing.
And this is the thing, in that difference between young and old. It's very easy for somebody that is older to be telling somebody that's younger, I told you so. I told you it was going to go this way, but you didn't listen.
Right.
You have to let the younger person learn, experience, and go, can we move forward?
Yeah.
And it's the same in all relationships. Finding the bridge, finding the solutions to the common goal is always going to be easier once you're both working towards it.
They said that the wisest man is the excuse my terminology, the most foolish man is the wisest man. You understand? Because they're not going to argue. Me, David, I'm the type, even if I know something, I will sit there and play dumb. Really?
Is that how that works?
Yeah, like really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were saying that earlier.
Yeah, like really?
I mean, I heard.
I let people talk, even if I already know what they're going to say. You know, I always go along with it.
Yeah. I heard an amazing conversation between a father and a son.
Mm-hmm.
And the father, to all intents and purposes, was an extremely wise individual, right? Experienced, lived life, and knew a lot. And his son says, "Why are you so wise?" Because when I was younger, I wasn't. And I accepted that I wasn't. Wisdom comes from good judgment.
That is it.
Good judgment comes from mistakes.
That's it.
and learning from the mistakes.
You see, but
expecting to have the answers before you've been through the mistakes.
now, younger generation, they always think they know everything. You know, so
Leave home, pay the bills while you know everything.
then then you learn. Yeah, but the thing is, I like to give people the chance, opportunity. And like you said, the father was telling the child, that's life ethics.
Learn the craft.
That's it.
Learn the lessons before you go out on stage. You know?
You don't want to go out there and look foolish. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure being on this show with you again. Wow, time goes by so fast. 40, an hour.
Yeah, I hope people have enjoyed the show. I hope.
Share the video.
Yeah. I mean,
Like the video.
Guys, subscribe to the YouTube channel too. Yeah. Get involved.
We have a YouTube channel.
I'm sure they're working.
Do you know it? Can you tell us, David?
There you go. It's up on the screen.
There it is. ATB Base.
You see? Power of the mind.
The power of the mind indeed.
Have a great week, everyone.
Thank you all for watching.
We'll see you next time.
It's a pleasure. See you next week. Same place.
Same time.
Have a good weekend, ladies and gentlemen.
You're watching